Hi there, we are here to talk about the Oscar nominees, which just came out. Best Picture nominees, there are 10 of them this year. 7 of them are rated R. 2 of them are foreign language movies, and only 2 made over $100 million at the box office. So just as Oscar tends to do, we're talking about pretty artsy, pretty rough, not necessarily a lot of stuff that kids can watch. But that said, we are actually going to go through all 10 nominees in 10 minutes if I possibly can. We will begin with Bugonia. This is an R-rated movie. Emma Stone stars in it with her favorite director, Yorgos, who I will not even try to pronounce the last name. This is actually based on a movie that I saw called Save the Green Planet. It's a Korean movie. That one was weird. This one is also very strange. It's about these 2 guys who kidnap this high-powered businesswoman, believing that she is an alien, and she communicates with her ship through her hair. This required Emma Stone to actually shave her head, and she will do pretty much anything for this director, as we have seen in Poor Things and The Favorite and all sorts of other things that she has done. So she also picked up a Best Actress nomination. She deserves it, but man, this is a harsh movie. Harsh movie. So, the R rating probably tells you that it is harsh, so I would not be taking your kids to that. One that might be a little bit more navigable. F1, the movie. This was the biggest surprise on the list for me. This was a movie that stars Brad Pitt. This feels like an old Hollywood production. This is a spectacular, pretty formulaic, big budget production. Brett Eckleberry actually reviewed this for us. He was really impressed with the quality of the movie. He really enjoyed it, but the message was a little bit vacuous. He really found that the whole message of the film, this old race car driver comes on the scene, he does his thing, he walks off into the sunset, just like that old American loner trope. Just felt a little bit shallow for him, because it's really nice to be part of a team, part of a community, and that's a little bit more scriptural than that strong loner type that movies tend to love. But this is a classic Hollywood movie. It does have some swearing. It does have some sort of race-related violence, I guess you could call it. So that's something to be aware of. But this is actually one of the few PG-13 movies on this list. So it might be something that your family can think about. Read our review, read all of our reviews for all of these movies before packing your kids up to see them. Next on the list, Frankenstein. This is a Netflix movie, R-rated. This might be the hardest R of all of the movies on the list. It's pretty interesting in that it's obviously a retelling of Mary Shelley's original book, Frankenstein. This is actually pretty accurate to the original book, which not all of the movies are. So that made it pretty compelling to me. Also, one thing that I really appreciated about this movie is that the monster is actually the scientist, Victor Frankenstein, for playing God. And that was pretty interesting. I liked how that the movie sort of leaned into that a little bit more. Where it lost me, just in terms of a storytelling standpoint, was really the monster himself. The director, Guillermo del Toro, he really brought forth this idea that the monster was this innocent, almost godlike being. And that just pushed things a little too far. Del Toro loves his monsters, so it wasn't necessarily surprising, but it missed on a few of those little elements. Also, as I said, might be just one of the hardest movies that you're going to see on the Best Picture docket. It has lots of blood, lots of violence. There's a bit of nudity that you have to navigate, and of course the spirituality, there's a lot of it. So that's something that you would have to wade through. Next up, Hamnet. This is not about ham. I kind of wish it was, because I think that would be super fun. But this is a much better movie, most likely. This is a PG-13 movie again. It is about Shakespeare and his wife Agnes and their son. This can be a difficult movie to wade through. Bob Hoose reviewed this for us, and he has said a few times that the movie is really hard to watch for the first 3/4 of it, because there's a lot of death, there's a lot of misery, there's some sensuality. it's just a downer of a movie, I think it would be fair to say. Until you get to that last third, last quarter. And then it takes a turn and it brings us into a more cathartic release, if you will. This might be one that we will be talking about later on when we do our Plugged In Movie Awards. It feels like it has enough meat to it, enough really cool inspirational stuff to it that we might be able to talk about it. But I haven't seen this one, so I can't say that for sure. You'd have to read our review to find out for sure. Marty Supreme, I have seen. That is an R-rated film. It's about ping pong. Who would think that there would be a Best Picture nominee about ping pong? It is also about breaking every single commandment multiple times. You see this character lie, cheat. It features Timothée Chalamet as Marty Mauser, who is this high-profile table tennis player in the 1950s. And he will do anything, literally anything, to make himself the biggest name in the world of table tennis. So we see him lie, we see him cheat, we see him sleep around trying to get the money that he needs to go to the World Championships. There is a lot to this movie. It has lots of swearing. There's a surprising amount of violence and sex for a movie that's really about ping pong. Timothée Chalamet does a great job with his performance, but man, I really wanted to get out of this movie quickly because there is no one that you can actually like in it. Everybody is so unlikable that it was not a very fun movie watching experience, even though the table tennis was pretty good. Next up, one battle after another. This probably, with Hamnet, is the biggest contender for actually winning Best Picture. This is a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and I am not a huge Paul Thomas Anderson fan. Typically his movies leave me feeling a little bit chilly. And this one has a little bit more warmth to it. It also has a lot of content issues. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, who does a wonderful job. Sean Penn, he plays this really complicated character. He also is up for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and he kind of deserves it. But when you talk about content, this has a lot of it. It has probably 135 F words. It has a lot of violence. There's some other issues, a lot of weird sensuality that you have to navigate. It might be one of the most problematic movies, along with Frankenstein, on the docket. And it also, I think, in some ways has sort of this irresponsible take. This sort of gives the idea of domestic terrorism a good name, and maybe in the environment that we're in right now, that's not necessarily a great thing to champion. It's a well-made movie, but it's easier to appreciate than to love, and it's definitely not for the kids. The Secret Agent. Here, I get a breather because this Brazilian movie we have not actually reviewed yet. I promise that we will have a review up before the Oscars go. We may even have it up by this week. But we assume that it's about a secret agent. It has gotten some rave reviews for the actor who stars in it. We will just see how that looks. But it is also rated R. So I will just guess that we're going to be dealing with some violence. We're going to be dealing with some subtitled swearing, maybe some sensuality in here. Those are just guesses because, let's be honest, I have not seen the movie. Next up, another foreign language film called Sentimental Value. R-rated film. This is a Norwegian film starring Stellan Skarsgård. Well, he's one of the stars. He plays this famous director father who's having a very chilly relationship with his daughters, especially his oldest daughter. Stellan, he is famous in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's been on Andor. He never seems to change his expression, but he changes it so not much here either, but it was so effective that it earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. There are some great performances in this. I really liked some of the messages, actually, that were part of this movie because it really talks about a family trying to reconnect after a lot of estrangement has occurred, and how that connection can be a little bit a little bit awkward. It is a strong movie with lots of strong performances and lots of swearing. As you might guess, there's a little bit of nudity as well, so that is something to be aware of. It is R-rated for a reason, but the performances are strong. Next up, Sinners. R-rated. Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther, directs this movie as well. Michael B. Jordan stars as a pair of twins. I guess twins are always a pair. But the fact is, this is a really interesting horror movie. This is actually the second horror movie on the docket, which is a little bit surprising. It's about these two twins who come back. They want to create a nightclub. The Deep South environment that they're in makes that very, very difficult. This film is a lot about racism. It's a lot about music and the power of music. The musical track here is amazing. It's also about vampires, and very, very bloody, hungry vampires. They kill a lot of people here. And some of the violence here is also sexualized, so that's something to be aware of. It is a very hard R movie that has some interesting spiritual connotations as well. In some ways, Ryan Coogler, who has done some pretty faith-friendly movies in the past, this one actually leans away from that a little bit. If you look at how Christianity is mostly portrayed in here, it almost forms as a secondary antagonist when it comes to how it's portrayed. Vampires are the biggie, but when it comes to faith, it doesn't have a lot of great things to say about Christianity. But the message is a little bit murky and a little bit complex. So read the review. It's a pretty interesting movie in terms of all of that content. It is definitely something, if you are going to go, even as adults, be aware of the content issues, because this is pretty extreme. But it is a well-made movie. The music is fantastic, and I do tend to like Michael B. Jordan in whatever he does. And finally, we are going to wrap it up with Train Dreams. PG-13, and a soft PG-13 at that. It has a couple of swear words in it, but beyond that, you're not going to see a lot of really overt content issues. You're dealing with a little bit of death, a little bit of suggested violence, but it's really about this guy who grows up in a time of amazing change. I shouldn't say grows up. He grows up and grows old, and he never really leaves within a 25-mile radius of this beautiful, beautiful landscape in Idaho, I believe. He marries, he has a child all the time. He works as a lumberjack. He works as somebody on a train, building a train, and it's really a very beautiful story about change, about meaning, about loss. It is a melancholy movie, I would say. Beautifully shot with a lot of very, very interesting things to say. This does not have the action that you might find in a Sinners or an F1, but it does have a lot of meat to it. And if you're looking for an understated, beautifully shot film that hits its PG-13 rating and really, if it hadn't been for a couple of swear words, could have hit a PG, this is a really nice movie. And I know we're going to be talking about this more during our Plugged In Movie Awards. So there we are. That is 10 movies in hopefully under 10 minutes. I wasn't keeping track, but hopefully we got it done. That is what you need to know about this year's batch of Best Picture nominees. Check out all of our reviews before you actually decide to watch. That's going to be really important because there's a chance I could have forgotten something. I just rattled off a bunch of stuff here. So check out our reviews before you or your family go off to the theater to see it or click it up on a streaming service or whatnot. In the meantime, also tell us what you thought of this video. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you want to hear from us. And be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. And we will talk with you next time.